the garment workers that are getting the worst end of the stick. It's usually women of color, which makes this a Black Lives Matter racial issue. They're not going to change if they can continue to make money from it. If only the lower income or poor people were shopping fast fashion, they wouldn't be as rich as they are right now. It's all the other people. That's what I have a problem with, and that's why my perspective is we can all quit fast fashion, because we're quitting the mindset of overconsumption. Hey everyone, it's me, Cynthia. I'm back. I have bangs. I'm talking about one of my favorite things to discuss today, and it's saying no to fast fashion, quitting fast fashion. The first time I made a video on this was 6 years ago in 2014, and I fully quit fast fashion a little bit after that. I can't believe it's still an issue that we have to talk about today, but we are. I'm super passionate and riled up about this. There's been a ton going on related to Black Lives Matter, related to how there's such intersectionality between sustainability and all of the other things going on in the world, from the pandemic to how we need to spike our economies, to Black Lives Matter, and to marginalized Black and brown bodies. And I think we already know what fast fashion is here. I don't want to dive too deeply into it. Fast fashion is essentially when you're buying cheap clothing, like a $6 t-shirt. Imagine who is suffering from that price tag along the way. It's probably the garment workers. I'm talking brands like Zara, H&M. Zara is the one that created the fast fashion business model. I can speak to that later in this video. I did a whole high school essay on that. That's kind of where I got started. There are 74 million textile workers worldwide. 80% are women of color. So when we're talking about, one, the garment workers that are getting the worst end of the stick, it's usually women, which makes this a feminist issue, and it's usually women of color, which makes this a Black Lives Matter racial issue. And on top of that, when we're looking at the adverse effects to the environment of how much we produce in fast fashion is still one of the world's largest polluters. Who suffers from the climate crisis the most? It is Black and brown people. They're the ones who live the closest to areas that are dangerous. They're the ones who suffer the most from the tangible adverse side effects of climate change and the environmental issues that are happening right now. So that's kind of the intersectionality of, I think, sustainability in fashion and everything else happening. I'll leave articles on where you can read more about this. There's also this new Instagram account I've been following called the Intersectional Environmentalist that I think is a really great resource. The description box is going to be jam-packed with resources today, so I hope you check it out. But yeah, I briefly just wanted to have that intro just to get you guys thinking about how this is so connected to everything and why this is something that we should care about. It's one of the easiest ways that we can change ourselves in order to better and in order to impact change on a global scale, just by saying no to fast fashion. Saying no to fast fashion and quitting fast fashion for me really just means quitting the overconsumption mindset. We want to switch to conscious consumption, and that's why my whole channel has always been about how to shop consciously. Fast fashion at its core is about overconsumption and about thinking that we need to buy new all the time and to constantly buy. And it creates this dissonance between us and the clothes that we own, because it makes clothing disposable, right? So on the flip side of that, it's just slowing down and being more conscious about how we're consuming. It's about knowing what we already own. It's about being more intentional with buying things that truly add value to our wardrobes, or you could say that spark joy. Remembering to have a relationship with our clothing, because I still believe that loved clothes last. And we should treat our clothes with care, because they should be lasting us longer. We shouldn't be constantly buying new and donating or disposing of them because of cheap fashion. It's a mindset change over everything. Like, no matter where you buy from, it's about slowing down and not buying as much. I value wearing clothes that I know are like ethical or like sustainable. The reason why I so strongly believe that it's more so a mindset change over anything is because with the conversation of sustainable fashion comes a lot of privilege. The one fact that I think articulates this really well is one of Aja Barber's posts. Again, I talk about Aja in all of my videos because she's been such an amazing resource. She has this Instagram post about how fast fashion CEOs would not be billionaires, okay? These companies would not be so rich and so well off if only the poor were buying fast fashion. If only the lower income or poor people were shopping fast fashion, they wouldn't be as rich as they are right now. It's all the other people. It's like the 90% of people that are shopping fast fashion because they just want newness all the time. They want to update their style all the time. That's what I have a problem with, and that's why my perspective is we can all quit fast fashion because we're quitting the mindset of overconsumption. Like, here's the other thing. The lower income people who are buying fast fashion, they're not going in all the time to buy fast fashion. They probably are the most conscious consumers because they are trying to get the most value out of what they're buying, right? So bringing it back to that mindset change, it's like, who are the ones that are buying from fast fashion companies just for the sake of having new clothes? Who are the ones that are disposing the most? Who are the ones that are going and doing hauls all the time and buying like 20, 30 new items every month, every week, whatever it is, and then doing that overtime constantly, you know? That's what I have an issue with. And that's, I think, the most important type of people that I hope learn and stop, like, quit fast fashion. Then there's size inclusivity. The plus size market, I think, is so marginalized also from this topic of sustainable fashion. When we think about just the normal clothing industry already, this number of style options for the plus size market is so far behind from what we have access to and what we what we're privileged to have access to. We could be like, yeah, like everybody should shop more sustainably, but they don't have the options to, you know what I mean? And that's why having more size inclusive brands overall, but especially in sustainable fashion, is so important. I wanted to speak to those 2 points because I think it's really important to remember when we're talking about sustainable fashion, sustainable consumption, and all these other alternatives to fast fashion. I don't think it's a necessary conversation for people who don't have the resources, whether that's time or money. And I don't think it's a conversation for the plus sized market either, because like there's no options for their size, you know? I want to talk about thrifting. This is like one of the biggest pieces into how I was able to quit fast fashion. I relied mostly on thrifting and secondhand. When I started this journey like 6 years ago, I was in high school still. I don't have the money to buy expensive pieces. And I don't think you need to, because again, one, it's mindset change, all right? You often save money too when you're buying less and you're buying more consciously. But I think that there's still a stigma around thrifting. I love that the thrifting market, and I love that the stigma around it has like transformed completely. That was one of the biggest reasons I started to thrift a lot on my channel back then, is because I was like, and I still believe this, that you can thrift such a classy and timeless style. And I try to prove that a lot with the types of videos I make, or by showcasing my style, or even by having that pop-up store that I had in January this year. I really should make a video documenting my whole sustainability journey, but people think that you can only thrift like shitty clothes or fast fashion. And I do think that a lot of it is sifting through, but a lot of the clothes that I look for when I thrift are made in Canada, made in USA. They're like more vintage, I guess, if you want to deem it that way. I look for good fabrics. I look for fabrics that are made well, and I look for timeless pieces like this top. It's not like you have this one very specific thrifted style. If you want to thrift, you can really achieve like a classy and timeless style with thrifting. I hope that more people know that, because I'm seeing a lot of people come up with like secondhand shops on Instagram that are being like, that are saying that they're sustainable and boasting their sustainability because you're buying secondhand clothing, but really they're just selling clothes that they bought at fast fashion stores, which there's pros and cons to that, obviously. I'm just here to remind you that you can build a really timeless and classic wardrobe of pieces that are gonna last you a lifetime, of pieces you're gonna love, even at the thrift store. The other piece to that, the next level up, is looking for ethical companies, looking for sustainable companies, or looking for companies that are producing with like recycled pieces, recycled materials, using closed loop systems, all of that stuff. And I have a video about how to assess a brand sustainability and like looking into these things of what makes a brand sustainable. You can't buy your way into sustainability, you know what I mean? The most sustainable pieces we have are the ones we already own, and I think that's why like I'm so careful when I'm looking to buy like something new. I always try to thrift it first, see if I can get it used, see if I can upcycle it. And then after I can't find it, or if it's something very specific with like, especially when it comes to like sizing and measurements, or still with like undergarments and stuff, making the most conscious choices, slowing down, and really only buying things that add value. And I think a lot of that is also like trial and error along the way, you know what I mean? Where your style evolves, and that's also okay. But that doesn't mean that you need a new style every single season. You don't need a new wardrobe every single season. Back to school, I know, is coming up, where in the past, like I remember on YouTube, I would see hauls all the time of people being like, here's my new wardrobe for the season. And I'm like, if you're wondering how you can do this, I think it's easier than you think. It's not as overwhelming as you think, because it's not so much because it is just a mindset change, right? It's like no one is going to judge you for continuing to shop wherever you shop. It's more just like buy things consciously and slow down. Because the biggest issue that I have is with people that constantly buy new, constantly buy cheap stuff, and constantly dispose of stuff. It's that kind of cycle, that overconsumption and that disposing of cheap fashion, of disposable fashion, I guess, like seeing fashion as disposable. I say this all the time, but I think that we have so much power as consumers, and our individual actions become so powerful as a collective. We're like consumers all together, and I think that can force a lot of change. The longer we continue to buy from fast fashion companies and give them our money, the more they'll continue to do that way, because they're not going to change if they can continue to make money from it. And I think that's why it's so important that I hope that like we can continue to talk about this and have conversations about this and share this. I think that there is a huge like market of consumers that continues to buy fast fashion and support this overconsumption model that I think need to wake up. And I think that we need to have these conversations in order to wake these people up. So yeah, I hope that that's what comes out of this video. I know I said earlier I'll speak briefly to like the fast fashion model. I feel like I already talked so much in this video, so I don't know how much I'm gonna include here, but basically Zara, they specifically did this by a couple of things in their supply chain. This is my business side coming in. From design all the way to getting product in stores. They made it 14 days back then. Now I think it's almost closer to 7 days, which is insane. Like the amount of scale that they produce at in order to get that quick turnaround time is crazy. So someone can see a trend or see like on the runway or something, copy the style or like mimic the style and have it in stores. And then also when it's in stores, like they constantly have new product to make consumers see new all the time when they get into stores, and to also make them buy like more easily, because we know that the next time we go into that store, those styles might not be there. There's all of these psychological factors to that. And then by doing that too, like we're buying more, right? It's also cheaper, so we can buy more. It's more disposable because it's cheap fashion. So why would we as consumers hold on to it? It was this constant cycle, having constant sales. And then to compete with Zara, H&M, and other companies were like, oh shit, we should have a just-in-time model too. The model is called just-in-time, JIT. So you can Google that on your own time. That's like the gist of it that I think we should talk about here. There's a lot of like other like RFID technology and stuff that tracks like movements in the stores. It's like how they lay out their stores and all of that stuff. Anyway, I feel like I should end the video here. I feel like I ended up talking a lot to each of these points. But let me know what you think down below. I always love to like spark a conversation with these types of videos and see what you guys think. If you are on the sustainability journey, or if you like quit fast fashion, or like wherever you are in this journey, I'd love to know. I'd love to hear if you have any tips. You can share it with everybody in the comments. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm excited to see what types of conversations we have below. Quick plug, like I mentioned, this top I thrifted a while ago. I love it. It's like this cream off-shoulder ribbed top. And then I am only wearing one dangly earring today, because I don't know where the other one is right now. It's in my apartment somewhere, but I really love this. It's just a face, and I picked this up at Artisanal Design Co. It's this local consignment shop in Kitchener, owned by Danielle, Black-owned business, and I think these earrings were actually handmade in Galt, which is like a 20-minute, 30-minute drive away. I feel like I want to do like an updated piercing video and wear this earring. Please don't forget to leave a like below if you enjoyed this video. It really means a lot to me. And if you are new here, please subscribe, hit that notification bell. If there are other things you want me to talk about, or topics you're curious to learn on, especially in like the sustainability and ethical fashion realm, please comment down below. I'm building out my list of like videos that are more education focused. So yeah, let me know. I want to do one on fabrics and one on influencers. I will see you guys in my next video. I love you guys so much. Bye.